Your Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, friends, my name is Patrick Verkooijen and I'm the CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation. And I want to thank you for joining this powerhouse leaders event on climate adaptation indeed. I think there is one thing we all agree on in this room. That Africa's #1 climate priority is climate adaptation. Why? Not just because Africa is the most climate vulnerable continent, because as President Adesina has said, adaptation is big business. It's about investment, it's about jobs, it's about growth. And the good thing is, colleagues, friends, 2 years ago, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, President Adesina, President Macky Sall, the President of Ethiopia, and others launched the largest adaptation program, not just for Africa, but in the world, the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. So President Adesina, thank you for your leadership. President Macky Sall, thank you for taking this to the global stage. What a team we have. We will hear from the other presidents in a little bit. In the first 2 years of the AAAP is a $25 billion program over 5 years. We invested over $6 billion already. But we need to be very careful and very clear. Adaptation is about people. Although we have mobilized $7 billion yet, there is no room for complacency. There's a long way to go. Earlier today, we launched our report on what are the numbers on adaptation finance in Africa. Well, if there are a couple of numbers you want to get your head around, how much is flowing today to Africa on adaptation finance? $11 billion. How much should flow to Africa on an annual basis? A minimum, if you look at all the NDCs and you add it up, how much is that? $53 billion. But our analysis tells us that 53, in fact, should be $106 billion a year, i.e., $11 billion over $100 billion. We need a tenfold increase. That is why we have this event today. What are we going to talk about? AAAP adaptation compacts. What do we have today to offer for you? The first 7 of these compacts. 7 leaders, 7 trailblazers, 7 investment roadmaps. And as these roadmaps will show you, there are already hundreds of adaptation projects ready to be financed. So President Adesina will explain a little bit what these compacts, what it actually will mean, but in a shorthand, they're a gravitational pull to bring investment to the national level. We know today that the investment roadmaps being presented, governments are doing their share. Bilateral partners, and we hear from Norway and from others, and the Netherlands, they're doing their share. International finance organizations, such as the African Development Bank, they're certainly doing their share. But there are 2 actor groups are missing in this space. First, foundations should step up their game in adaptation finance, and particularly the private sector is absent. So these investment roadmaps being launched today, the first 7, we know, of course, Africa is not 7 countries. Africa happens to be 54 countries. So see this as the first batch of these transformative compacts to be put on the table, and think about it. Comes COP28, 7 should be 54. And the first 7 should be capitalized. Because we know investing in adaptation is simply good business and we can do it. Knowing that this is the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, knowing that we're at least 1 hour behind schedule, knowing that some of the leaders on stage need to go in a plane, we want to keep this session extremely focused, much shorter than what is programmed for. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, you have been with us from the beginning. You are not only the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, which is a big achievement in itself, you are the architect behind the Paris Agreement, and you are today here in your capacity as the chairperson of the Global Center on Adaptation. Secretary General, you have the floor, sir.